Okay, here we are on the seventh day when God finished everything, and so I'll just read it and then if you could sing it, that would be great. Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished, and on the seventh day God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made.
ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו. אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות.
Awesome.
Three verses only for the, Shabbat, like the biggest thing, the biggest covenant, the such a strong symbol.
Yeah.
3 verses only. But I think that's the way it is in scriptures, right? I mean, the less it says, the less a topic, the less words that it includes, the more depth there
Yeah.
is.
It's
You
like
know, it's
like poetry.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that well, there's so much to say about Shabbat. I think the main thing that we should remember about Shabbat is that Shabbat is our way to resemble Him. It's our way to really maximize our potential as beings that were created in His image, in His likeness. It says here that God rested on the seventh day. And there's nothing about that here, but later, I mean, much later, when Torah will be given on Mount Sinai, the fourth commandment out of 10 would be to remember the day of to remember the day of Shabbat. That's in Exodus. In Deuteronomy, when we get to read Ten Commandments in Deuteronomy, it's not about remembering the day, but it is about keeping the day. And in between those two places, there are all sorts of details. Not to light fire, not to do this, not to do that. There are all sorts of details, a lot of details, talking about how to keep Shabbat. What does it mean to keep Shabbat? Yes, please.
Yes, I just have a question. Maybe you were going to get to it, but um, there are a lot of things, as you said, that to read about, but there are a lot of things about Shabbat that aren't written. And can you just explain a little bit of that? Because I think sometimes maybe people maybe a bit confused, like why did they not, why don't the Jewish people keep, why do they do this? Why don't they do that?
Mhm.
And what's the reason that there are things that we can't turn to and say because he said.
Okay. So there are 39 types of works. Okay, 39 types of works, not specific works, but types of works.
Of work.
Types of work that are not allowed to be done on Shabbat. Now, how do we, where do we take that from? I mean, other than the not lighting fire, not setting fire on Shabbat, which is said explicitly, where do we take all the rest from? And the answer is from Exodus. In the book of Exodus, in chapter 25, we are beginning to read about the children of Israel giving donations, right? The giving donations of various things for the tabernacle. Okay, to build the tabernacle. So they gave wood and fabric and metals and gems and all sorts of things, and they all volunteered to do the work. Anybody that had the that could do that kind of work, craftsmen and all of that, everybody joined in and volunteered to build a tabernacle. When God is giving them the description about how to build the tabernacle, what sort of artifacts, how to use each material, just before that, there are about three verses. It's not in front of me right now, but there are about three verses that come as an introduction to building the tabernacle. And those verses talk about the prohibition to work on Shabbat. First, it starts with a warning. It starts with a warning that the 6 days work shall be done, but on the seventh day they cannot work and create anything new.
Right.
People were so enthusiastic about building the tabernacle, and Moses, I mean God through Moses, he gave them a warning: don't be carried away. Okay, it's not in all price. I mean, there are still guidelines, and there is a framework to the whole thing. Okay, so you can do that for 6 days, but on the seventh day you must rest. Because when we go and check the list of work, different types of work that are included in building the tabernacle, we see that there are 39 different types of work. 39. Okay, all sorts of them. We don't have to go into each and every one right now. It's a long discussion in the Jewish Talmud, but we see 39 types of work. And those 39 types of work, because we have the warning about Shabbat not to do them, not to build on Shabbat, we take those 39 types of work and we say, okay, so all of these things are not allowed to be done on Shabbat. And under each type, there are all sorts of various types of sub work, that we're not allowed to do. It, of course, depending on the time and the era that we live in. For example, back in the day, they didn't have electricity. Nowadays we do. So can we use electricity? Well, the thing is that, once you turn on the switch, you basically close the circuit and there is a spark right there, and therefore it's like setting fire on Shabbat. So Torah doesn't say anything about you shall not, turn the switch on or anything like that. But we know what happened, what's going on behind it, and we know what is how does it connect with various texts we have, and we compare various texts, and that's where all the details come from.
Yeah.
But the main idea about Shabbat is to avoid creating anything new. Just as God stopped creating, he did not create, he rested on the seventh day. There is no work to be done so that no new things will be created on Shabbat, which is not, of course, it's to resemble him, it's to be like him, it's to maximize our potential as created in his image, as we've said. But not only that, it's also a very, very powerful message to us as human beings. It's a constant reminder, it's a weekly reminder that it's not up to you.
Mm.
Not up to you. Even if you, almighty men, if you take the day, one day, and you do nothing on that day, okay, you don't create anything new. You don't act, perform, work. You don't have to, even in your mind, even thinking about it. Okay, in Isaiah speaks about it. Isaiah, when he gives a few verses, there are a few verses talking about Shabbat in the book of Isaiah, and it says that even in your mind, you cannot just let's say sit on Shabbat and think about how you're going to prepare for a concert, which you'll play later in the week. You don't plan anything. You don't think about your schedule or anything. And it's a weekly reminder that even if you choose to do that and you avoid, any kind of work, the world will still exist. The sun will rise, the birds will sing, everything will still exist, everything will stand. The world is not up to you. You are a partner in running the world, having dominion over it, as we could read it on the in creation. But you don't own it to the extent of having to do it all. It's not up to you. It's a message about humility. It's a message about your true place in this relationship between you and your maker.
Mhm.
And, I think that's very much the big message about Shabbat. And I think nowadays in modern society, when everything is so fast and everything is instant, and people are stuck in their phones all the time and all of that, to take 25 hours without it, it's amazing. It's amazing. You put down everything, all the distractions, everything, and everybody, and all the rest of the family as well. Everything, everybody puts, everything away, and you just have the main things to focus on:
Mm,
prayer, family, learning, talks that we just cannot do. We cannot just have those kinds of conversations in the middle of the week when there are so many distractions.
mm,
It's a gift. It's a gift, especially in our generation.
yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks, Gil. And thank you for
Thank you.
all of these insights you've been giving us
My
for
pleasure.
each of these
My
days.
pleasure. Thank you.
So, okay, well,
Thank you.
yeah, we've come to the end of the 7 days.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless.
Okay, bye.